Alright, what we're going to try today is get the very basic, the least amount of ASF files we need to get the display, to just draw a horizontal line on the display. And so what's the minimum ASF library files and functions that we need just to get basic use out of the display from the C3 Explained demo board. I'm going to start a new project, and we're going to want to use we're using ASF, so we're going to use the ASF board project. And then we have to pick our CPU that we're using. I just click on AVRX Mega to narrow down the search, and we're looking for our 384 C3. Alright, here it is, and we're using our C3 Explained board. And then we're going to see what's the basic that gets set up here by ASF. It's a starting point to see what's going on. So click on our source files. We have our ASF header file, which I believe should include a lot of the or what's just needed from the ASF libraries. Help link them up, and you can see in the main file is pretty basic right now. All we've got is the board initialization function. Let's check this out. And you can see here it's just setting up the pins on the board, enabling the pins for the LEDs and for the buttons. Obviously, your LEDs, you're going to have them as outputs. Your buttons as inputs. And you see here, push button 1 input. Your LEDs set as outputs. So this is basically what this board initialization function is doing. You can see also here, there's the OLED display here, our 283.2H SWIG 04, and what else we got here? Enable chip select pin of the micro SD. So this basic pin configuration being set up here, looks like. Okay, so we go to the ASF wizard. Start setting up our services. Okay, now so far we haven't selected any services ourselves. The ones that have been set up for us: generic board support driver, generic board support module includes board specific definitions and function prototypes, such as board initialization function, which we just looked at, and also your general purpose input output. Similar thing, driver for general purpose input output pins, provide functions for initializing input output pins, such as input or output, as in buttons and LEDs and stuff like that. I/O ports, same thing, similar, setting up directions. Xmaker compiler driver, compiler abstraction layer and code utilities for 8-bit AVR. Module provides various abstraction layers and utilities to make code compatible between different compilers. So that's obvious. What that does. Okay, so I'm trying, like I said, to set up the most basic service here to get that OLED display to work and draw a line for us. Now, we got GFX color system font, but we want monochrome. The display is monochrome, this display is white. And after we draw the line, I do want to get do some font work too, just to display some fonts on there. So I think I'm going to pick this GFX Mono System Font Service. I'm going to add it. And then you need to get down into this, and what I've made several errors on trying to get it run is I didn't go down and tell what display driver to actually use. Right now it's set for null, but we need the driver for the 283, SWIGO 4 display that's already on the board. So click on that, and then we're going to apply. Then ASF is going to load all these dependencies and files. And you can see it's loading SSD 1306 controller, the controller chip for the display. So it's loading up the header files for that. This is the guts here, I think, the serious guts of the display, where the actual interface work is going on. And we're going to try to explore that further too. And then we got the GFX monochrome graphics library to actually draw the line, or circles, primitives, whatever we're using. Fonts, system font and for text, and the font headers. And I think those include actual libraries for the actual fonts themselves and their bitmaps, and then CPU specific features, driver for the CPU, non-volatile memory, place to store all the I guess to store the, I'm not sure, just guessing that to store the bitmaps. And then our serial peripheral interface, of course we need that to communicate with the display. And system clock, we'll need that obviously for the peripheral interface. Delay routines, graphical primitives, frame buffer device, panel support for our specific display. I think that's a real important header file here. We'll get into later. More SPI. Okay. So we'll load those files in. Okay, we'll go to ASF here, see what we got. Alright, so the only thing new here now for ASF, we've added this GFX monochrome system font. And let's see what's in here. System font header file, configuration header file for the system fonts, some API documentation. For graphic primitives here, we've got okay, we've got a quick start guide here. That's always a helpful place to start. Let's see what we got in this quick start guide. Okay, so this use case will demonstrate initializing the monographic service and then draw a black line, or in our case a white line, on the screen from coordinates x10, y10 to x20, y20. So if we're going to use a horizontal line, then we're going to have to keep our y coordinates the same, y10 to y y10, and just change our x coordinates for a horizontal line. And then all we have to do is the board initialization. We saw it already is in the main. That's already set up for us. So we have to initialize the source clock. We're gonna have to initialize the graphics display, and then the actual call the function that's going to set the coordinates for the line, and an enumeration here to actually tell it to draw a white line or draw a white to turn on the pixels. So I guess we'll add source clock initialization to our main file. Got the board initialization. So okay, here it is here, source clock initialization. External function, so it's available from other files. There's no parameter here. Next one, what do we got? We got GFX mono initialize. Alright, here it is here. Type define statement. Basically define another GFX mono SSD 1306 initialization. So we'll have to go into that later and see the details there. No parameters. Yeah, parameters for that. And then the call to function GFX model draw line. Okay, here we have it here. We have parameters here, x1, y1, x2, y2, and the color, which is an enumeration. So accept that. Set up our parameters. Let's see, x was what? 10. Start at 10, 10. 10 for the x. 10 for the y. And then we'll go to 20 for the x. And keep it a horizontal line, so 10 for the y. And then our color enumeration. In this case, we've got GFX pixel clear to clear, I believe to clear the pixel, and when to set the pixel. Not sure what XOR does. Okay, so I think we got everything here to draw a line on here. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to build it. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, almost out of time here. Now we've got an error here, so let's find out what's going on with that.